All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is Amber Hefner, Executive Director of Illinois Digital Educators Alliance. Excited to be with you this morning and bring you some fantastic educators who are going to inspire and motivate us today with what they have to share and how things are going for remote learning with them. So I want to first just kind of get us started, do some introductions, and invite those of you that are in our Zoom to put information in that you feel comfortable sharing, who you are, your district, contact info if you're interested in the chat window, just so we know who's joining us. And if you're joining us on Facebook Live, feel free to do that as well on Facebook Live so that we know that you're here. So we are recording this, we are on Facebook Live, and I want to quickly introduce another important person that's joining us today, Whitney Miller. Whitney?
Hi guys, this is Whitney Miller. I'm the Director of Finance and Membership with IDEA, and I'll be monitoring the chat and kind of running things from the back end. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will make sure we jump in and get those answered. Thanks.
Thanks, Whitney. All right, let's get started then this morning. If you can introduce yourself, Vanessa, tell us a little bit about your role, the districts that you're in, and just a quick summation of how things are going with remote learning for you.
Yeah, so my name is Vanessa Witherell. I'm K-5 technology and library teacher. I support the teachers in my building with tech integration. That's part of the role that I've got too. I'm at United 304, so I'm at United in Alexis, Illinois, and this is my 4th year in that position, and I love it. We're doing pretty well with remote learning. It's a little different at the elementary. My husband's at the junior high in the same district. So the conversations we have, he says, well, I think it should be this way. And I say, that will not work at the elementary level. So it's really interesting to see just how different two buildings can be, but it's by grade level. We have, not that we've moved completely away from digital at the elementary level. They're supporting it with digital, but we have opted to send packets home with K-5. Just because our parents, the feedback we got from the beginning was that our parents needed something a little more concrete. They weren't used to what the students were doing at school, and so they didn't feel like they could manage that as well from home. So K-5 route, we went with packets, but our teachers are supplementing with all kinds of online stuff with Google Classroom. They're doing Zoom meetings. We ended up sending dry erase boards home with every student in the mail. So we sent dry erase boards, markers, and erasers that we purchased because of a generous donation to our district to help with all of this. And we have, I guess we ordered about almost a month ago, we ordered access points to put on the outside of our building, but they're still not here yet. They're supposed to be here next week, which with the extension, I guess that it'll be nice that we will actually have them, where if we had gone back, we would just have them on hand. But now we'll get to install those, and then students will be able to, or parents or high school students will be able to drive up to campus and have Wi-Fi on the outside of the building so they can connect within the parking lots. So then parents that have devices but no internet can have something. So we'll see where that takes us.
Awesome, great, Vanessa. And you will find that I'm taking notes as we go. And so some of what you guys are sharing, we'll be going back and talking about later, including those access points. So thanks, Vanessa. It's great to have you today. Don?
Hi, my name is Don Sturm. I am a technology integration specialist for the Morton School District, Morton 709, which is not up north. It is dead center of Illinois, just outside of Peoria. I work K-12, so I was a high school history teacher, social studies teacher for 23 years. I've been in this role for the last 6. We have about 3,500 students. We're one-to-one iPads. Pre-K through 12. So we have I mean, honestly, I think one of the things that we're realizing is some of the luxuries that we have. I mean, and I can easily admit that we have the luxury of having devices out. Every student in our district has an iPad. And so we are not doing paper packets. I would say that pre-K through 4 are predominantly using Seesaw as a platform for e-learning, and then Google Classroom. We've got a couple of second grade, third grade classes that are using it, but predominantly 5th on up is using Google Classroom. So, and it, we have 6 buildings, 1 high school, 1 junior high, and 4 elementary. And I think we have a range of comfort levels with technology. I don't remember where I saw the shirt that said, I think it was Heather Mars, if you're familiar with her on Twitter, that said, "I bet you wish you paid attention to me during the PD sessions," or something like that. We have those teachers who, I don't mean that they didn't pay attention, but I don't think they really saw a need for technology. And now they're like thirsty for, okay, can you show me how to do this? Can you? And one of my favorite things is when teachers are like, "Did you know that you can do blank?" Or, "Have you ever heard of Flipgrid?" And I'm like, yes. Yes, I have. We've talked about that many times. So I think, I don't want to, I think it's easy for a district like ours for me to say, "Oh, things are going so well." There are some families that have not checked in. There are some families that have over-checked in. There are some teachers that are struggling. There are some teachers that are really kind of nailing this. So I think we're all over the board, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I think that is true. And I'm hoping that becomes one of the positives out of this situation, is the realization of how the utilization of technology really can enhance what is happening in education, today. So I think being all over the place, Don, is the norm.
Yeah. And I don't mean that. I should have prefaced that by saying, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's just, that's the expected. I mean, there are people who are struggling. We were talking before, when you went to get a notebook, we've got teachers that I don't know how they're doing what they're doing, to be quite honest. I mean, they have, they've got 4 or 5 kids at home that are in the district. So they're a teacher to their own kids, plus they're trying to teach other kids. It's just, it's an expected thing. I don't, being no disrespect toward us being all over the place. Right.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that kind of, on that note, that I want to talk about is, I put a link, and I apologize that it's not linking really well in the chat window, but I did find this interesting, that ISTE's been designing a Wi-Fi hotspot map. And so school districts across the state can fill out a form and have their hotspots showing up on the map. So families can go to this map and see where there are hotspots available to be able to access internet if needed throughout the state. So Vanessa, when you were mentioning, and I'd like to hear more about how you guys are doing your access points on the outside of your building, but when you mentioned that, I just wanted to share that resource, because I think it is something that's very important for families to be aware of, that, ISDE is curating these hotspot areas for use if you don't have access at home. So Vanessa, can you share a little bit about the process of what you guys are doing to get those hotspots in your district? Oh, did we lose Vanessa?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm looking at it and not seeing her in there. Well, until she comes back in.
Yeah, Dawn, if you don't mind. Yep.
So we were, oh, there's Vanessa. So let's see if. Well, okay, we were just talking about this right before. We have a department meeting every morning, and we're talking about hotspots. We have, our buildings have not been turned off, so we have Wi-Fi in all the buildings. People can pull up in, you know, parking lots and get those. We did find out that in Morton they do have. When I said we're not the Morton in the north, one of our, there's actually a hotspot mistake on that map, that it's showing that Morton has one at a library that does not exist in Morton, but we found out it's actually the Morton up north.
Up north.
We did have some hotspots, and I'll tell you, those things are like gold right now. So we have given out some hotspots to families. I don't remember the total number of them. We're trying to get a hold of a few more. We have some people in the country, and if you've never lived in the country before, I've lived in the country before. When somebody says they have satellite internet, I hope there's nobody from the satellite internet, you know, companies that are on here. It sounds way better than it actually is. Speeds are very slow, the lag time, and so they're like, that's where we tend to have the struggle. So we're trying to put hotspots into the hands of families and a couple of teachers. But I think we need 3 right now, and we were told by, I don't remember which company, that it was going to be the end of May. And it's like, well, that's not going to work out. So it looks like Vanessa dropped back out again.
So I do think that I kind of had done the same thing, Don. I'd been looking at some options of hotspots, and every place that I go to, they're like sold out, you know, like currently unavailable, which is understandable given the situation, but certainly something that I think we need to address, you know, moving forward. What was the process that you guys used to disseminate, or how did you determine where those hotspots went?
What we did, we had a phone number that was dedicated just to that, because what we saw some districts doing is, hey, if you don't have a hotspot, or if you don't have Wi-Fi, fill out this form. And it's like, oh, I never really even thought about that. So we made it a phone number. They called, and really we tried to say, okay, do you live in a Comcast area? Are you a Comcast? Could you be a Comcast customer? Because I think they're offering 2 free months. So we tried to show them some other avenues. And then once those avenues were kind of exhausted, and we didn't wait days and days and days. I mean, it was really more of a theory of, we just need to get this done. So a family, maybe they would tell us, yes, I've called, and they said it's not available. We were just like, okay, we'll get you a hotspot. So it was, but you're talking, maybe we sent out 20 hotspots. I mean, we're not talking about huge numbers of hotspots. I mean, I can't imagine districts where they need, quite honestly, they might need hundreds of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like some of the districts that I've heard about in, you know, further south, for sure.
Yeah.
So I got a message from Vanessa, and of course, bless her heart, she's like, our internet went out completely.
Oh.
So yes, this is a living example of what is happening, you know, to students everywhere during this remote learning time. So we'll continue our conversation, Don. But
and you know me well enough. I'm never at a loss for
I'm not
words.
really exactly. I'm not worried about this at all. You can carry us through the hour easily. Marlene and Susan, I just want to make sure that if you have any questions, you know, that you have the opportunity to ask them as well. I know we've been spending quite a bit of time on the Wi-Fi hotspot piece of it, because I do think that this is an important topic, and I'd love to get the word out that that map is available. But if you both have questions that you want to ask, now is the time to do that as well. If you feel comfortable coming off mute, you can do that, or you can put your questions in the chat window as well.
Hi. Yeah. just I've been chiming in for a couple of weeks, and great conversations. I'm actually a coach for District 159 in Madison. Can you all hear me? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
yes, we can.
yes.
How are
So,
you, Marlene?
but I've been doing quite a bit of webinars, and I know now most of them, or most people are, I was on one yesterday from Northwestern, and they were talking about, you know, the engagement with students and things like that. And my question is, because with all of the changes, and like you say, this was just new for everyone. Our district has been doing quite well with it, and just like Don mentioned, some teachers better than others in reference to the online component. We also sent out packages to, or packets to as well. But my thoughts have been, because we know yesterday they were talking about how teachers should realize that they can't do 40-minute lessons. You know, this is a different structure. But I've been thinking about, how is this going to affect standardized testing? Because if we are because I know we're in the moment now, and everybody's, you know, we're in the moment, and we're handling things as well as we can now. But I'm thinking about, like, next year, are they going to go back to just the standard testing platforms in reference to way it's been done in the past? Or is this going to make everyone think, like, hey, what is that going to look like for students?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wish I knew the answer to that. I know
I
if
know.
I was the king of the world, I don't know how in the world you would be able to do standardized testing next year. From having contacts, daily contacts with teachers and admins around the country, there are some states that are putting 2-year moratoriums on, and I can't remember if California is one of them. But they're starting to at least have those conversations about how long can we go, or how long do we need to go before we bring back testing the way that we've known testing. I know that I'll be honest, one of my biggest concerns is the start of next year, whenever that is, because those teachers who realize that the start of next year is maybe going to be more complex than it is right now, I think they're forward thinking. Those teachers who think, oh, nope, next year I'm starting off, I teach biology too, boom, we need to go with our curriculum. I think they're going to have a rude awakening when it comes, because we just have to realize, a friend of mine, he's a principal in California, he talks about, we are going to all have to recalibrate at the start of next year. And I think that goes with that testing. And if we do the testing, like if we start off with MAP, we're a MAP district. If we start off with MAP at the beginning of the year, I mean, there's just going to have to be a realization that you kind of have to take those numbers, those results with a grain of salt.
I agree, Don. And one thing I would like to mention as well, Marlene, I don't know if you, I did put the link in there to the ISB page that's specific to everything that's going on with COVID-19 right now. And I have to give a shout out to Dr. Carmen Ayala in regards to the communication that she's putting out and the work that ISB is doing right now. She did somewhat address this last week in regards to ISB putting together what she's calling a transition plan in moving from our current remote learning climate back into being in the buildings and being face-to-face with students. So I do believe that ISB themselves will be putting out some guidance in regards to those specific questions that you're asking. And I firmly believe that that is one of the considerations that they will be looking at, because I know that this has been a point of contention for many districts, many, superintendents talking about what is this going to look like, and how will this impact learning moving forward. So I would make the recommendation that you continue to monitor that ISB page and see what, this district or the ISB superintendent, Dr. Ayala, is putting out. I think there are going to be some phenomenal things that we will be hearing in regards to expectations for assessments and just, again, that transition back into buildings in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
back.
Great question. Hey, Vanessa.
Hey.
I know, right? No, that's what I said. This is a living example of what the remote learning experience is like for everyone.
Mhm.
So no worries. No, Marlene has just kind of asked a question in regards to what the transition will be like when we go back into buildings, and we're back to face-to-face, and in particular, standardized tests and the impact of what that might be moving forward. So I don't know if that's anything I don't know if it's anything your district has addressed or not, but my suggestion was taking a look at the ISB transition plan that I know they are working on and will be coming out with, over the course of the next few months.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered how to transition out of and into. That's
right. Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a whole nother thought to start.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
And I think it'll be interesting too to see, one of the things that some of the previous conversations we've had during this time has been the impact on learning, but the positives of that being students taking more responsibility for their own learning, and being more individualized and self-directed. So Vanessa, do you have some cool stories to share about some of those students who have taken on some learning or experiences that educators are giving to really motivate the students to take on that responsibility?
I've seen a lot of teachers put out STEM challenges. One of our first grade teachers put out a STEM challenge, and it had an activity that thought about how to build like a windmill all week long, and it was different design, design thinking and how to change it and revamp it and what are you gonna do, and then at the end of the week, like, you have a little windmill kind of thing. And one of our aides, her son is the most handy first grader you've ever met. And he loves mini pancake compressors and anything little that you could like put in your car. And like, he is the reason for a STEM program. And he and his grandpa built windmills after this, and they built the kind out of wood. They built the kind that'd be like the turbine windmills that had the three. And then they had a regular, and he called it the old-fashioned windmill. And then, he made that out of something different. And so it's just such a cool thing. Like, he learned so much through that project that they put out there for them. And it's such a cool thing to give these kids a chance to learn in a different way. And one of our fifth grade teachers, she posts on Google Classroom every day, here are the things that I'd like for you to accomplish if possible. These are suggested, these are not requirements. If you were doing something else, like if you're cooking, baking, if you're working out in the yard with your parents, if you're doing a home improvement project with your parents, share pictures of it, because that's learning too, and send that to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. And so she's trying to pull in what they're already doing. And we had a student who is, his mom's one of our special ed teachers, and he's big into motocross. I mean, he is dirt bike racing all the way. And his mom was just like, I'm done. You just go do something. And he said, well, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. And she said, well, make something. Go make something. What have you always wanted? And he said, well, I really want, I don't know what it's called, some board that when you're ready to race, your wheels here, and then the thing goes down and you go over the top.
It's like a starting gate.
Yes, that. He wanted a starting gate.
I'm a motocross person.
Oh, there you go. He wanted a starting gate. So he built one. So his dad helped him make one. So now he has his bike and he's ready to go, and the starting gate's there, and he has this like cord or something, and he just pulls on it and it falls down and he goes. So for him, an incredible learning experience for him. You know, he learned a lot through that. And so then his teacher is able to say, oh, you know, can you write about that for me? Can you make, you know, can you tell me more about this? So that she was able to kind of pull a little more out of him than just making this. So that was,
Right.
you know, that's kind
Right.
of that's a cool thing.
So I love those stories, and think about those students would not have had those experiences if we weren't in this situation, right? So
Right.
again, trying to find the positive and trying to find, you know, hard, concrete examples of what students are doing during this time, and how does that equate to improving learning in the future, right? So I mean, it's my soapbox, you know, of finding that hook for students being something that they are interested in, and how can you take that hook and, I mean, those experiences, I know you're calling them STEAM challenges, right? But to your point, those experiences that those students had, every single content area could be addressed in each of those situations, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously the physics of a windmill, you know, writing about your experience. I'm thinking, which they're probably a little young, but, you know, I'm thinking Don Quixote, you know, how you can integrate windmills in with English language arts and foreign language and, you know, all of those experiences. So I think that's something that I really hope that this is building a better understanding of how STEAM or project-based learning really can be impacted in everyday education, transitioning back into the classroom.
I saw yesterday a post somebody had made on Facebook, and it said, hey, specialist teachers, I see you. You know, before now, I'm a classroom teacher and I have to apologize because before I would take my students to you and I would bring them to you.
Yeah.
And you know, and I've thought about this over and over and over, not in this situation necessarily, but just, you know, what I do as a tech teacher, as a library teacher, it's not that the teachers don't value what I'm teaching them. It's that I am their plan time, you know, and a lot of what happens is I'm in isolation. And I mean, I even think about our music teacher, you know, she's fantastic. She does all these great engaging activities with our kids. And then what happens with that music knowledge when they go back to the classroom? They're not doing anything with it. And then just because those teachers either aren't comfortable with it or aren't sure how to pull all this in, you know, we don't have an art teacher in our building. We do library, tech, and music, and then PE every day. But you know, just with all of these specials teachers, so the teacher that said, "Hey, specials teacher, you know, I see you." It's so interesting. I'm thinking about all the stuff that I'm trying to get my students to do now to be more engaged, because they're not doing the work that I'm putting out there. But what they are doing is all of the stuff that you do with them every week. They're doing the art projects, they're doing the tech projects, they're engaged in all of these things. And it's, you know, it's just so interesting that, like you said, with the project-based learning, that maybe you were able to tie all of this together a little better for people who maybe didn't see some of those connections before. And so I think this is going to be an incredible opportunity to pull in some of those things and maybe have those classroom teachers want to collaborate a little bit more with specials teachers, knowing that we know our content area and that, you know, we can help you put this into something else.
Absolutely.
Well, and one of the things that stood out, and Amber, you mentioned about, you know, this is my soapbox. I mean, I've got all kinds of soapboxes. We don't, in a normal class setting, and I was guilty of this when I was in the classroom, there was no time to iterate. It was, I do this, you turn it in, I grade it, and then we move on to the next thing. Now there's time to iterate. So I was thinking of that, like that motocross starting gate. You could go in, and if he starts and it's like, oh, it's not quite the angle I need it, so I'm going to go back and rework that. Or the windmill. What happens if I make the windmill bigger? Do I have to make the blades bigger? What happens if they're small? I mean, there are so many things. Like, parents are probably like, yes, they've got plenty of time, so go out and do those kind of things. So I'm hoping that idea of iteration sticks with teachers, that it's okay to not just plow through content, but let kids work with things over time and let them, you know, refine it and figure out that whole design thinking process.
Yeah, absolutely. Lindsay did a Go Live event yesterday, and she did it with one of our partners, BitSpace. And BitSpace was even talking about, you know, thinking about that the design thinking process of just everyday objects that you have around your house, right? Like you know, you pick up, and I'm looking around to see what I have that would be a good thing to hold up. You know, but whatever, you know, the fan above me, the ceiling fan, right? Having your child think about, how does the electricity work and where do those wires run? You know, and asking all of those questions just with everyday objects around your house. You know, and how that can spiral into so many different learning activities and opportunities for students as well.
Well, and on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, Brian Aspinall has been doing some pretty cool stuff where he'll just put a video. I was trying to find a good example, but he'll just put a video, and it was like his street flooding out front. And it's like, what do you see? What do you notice? Just a bunch of why questions. I mean, you could, I know our friend Stephanie Crawford put that idea of, I can't remember what she called it, but the hidden pictures or something like that, where just go out and find something and start looking at the whys. How can you make it math? So this tree fell, what angle, you know, just all those kinds of things. There are just so many ways when you bring the real world into it. And we always said that as teachers, you know, I mean, again, history teacher for years, and I don't know how many times in the real world, you're going to do this, but they weren't really in the real world. They were sitting in my classroom in straight rows, and now they're actually out there. Right.
Great point. Such a great point. Don, do you mind if you can put in Brian's, at least his Twitter handle for people?
Yep.
And then you're right. I did happen to watch Stephanie's video on that one in particular, and loved that idea as well. So I don't know if I'm looking for it right now as well to try to put in, but if you have it, and it's her YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I got it.
And it was Brian Aspinall, right, that was doing that?
I think so.
Okay, because I was just kind of scrolling, but he tweets a lot, so.
Can I ask the question?
Yes,
Absolutely.
please. Absolutely.
I wanted to know, I see you guys are recording, so is this going to be available, like people can look at it later on, you know, at their leisure?
Yeah, absolutely. Margaret, thank you for asking that. If you go to our website, which is IDEAIllinois.org, you will find it on our home learning page. And also on our, before COVID-19, we did Wednesday webinars. Now we're doing a lot of webinars, but we are still posting them to that Wednesday webinar page as well. So you can actually go back and look at all of the recordings that we've done and pick and choose ones that you want to watch. But I will put the link in the chat window as well.
I've got it here.
And also,
Thanks.
And also, I want to say thank you for all of these. I'm trying to go to as many as possible. I'm trying to go to the Microsoft, because I got this new Surface Pro, and it is like blowing my mind. All of the things.
In a good way?
It's in a good way.
Okay.
The only thing that's driving me crazy, and I wanted to ask this today, is the battery. It seems like, you know, I charge it and then I'm like, wait a minute, I got to put it on charge again. I might be using it, but it just seems like it goes out quickly. Do you think, Don, and you guys, is that something that, if you know about the Surface Pro? I think I read the battery life is it says long, but it seems like it goes by so fast.
You know, my wife is using one now. We're an iPad district. I don't have any experience personally with it. but she always keeps hers plugged in. I'll have to ask her
Okay.
if
Okay.
I was just going to look here a little bit and see if people are reporting that. Like, how long are we talking? I mean, it should last.
It should last 12 hours, but to me, maybe because I'm on it so much, it seems like it's gone maybe 8. So it really seems fast, and I'm trying to gauge it, but and this is a brand new Surface Pro. But I'm telling you, it is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You know, I love this organization, and I'm just saying, I'm the techie social worker. So
That's a hashtag
techie
I
techie
love
social
it.
worker.
I mean, you know, that's one field. I'm like an anomaly in my field. When I bring up anything, oh my God, it's like, that's too much. I can't do that. And my husband is a math teacher, and I'm glad you guys said something about math, but just this digital learning piece, the learning curve, because people are they're becoming online teachers without any experience. You know, it's a lot. Just even telling him, like, okay, you can make a writable form if you use Google Slide. And then he was like, that's too much. I gotta make a screenshot, then I gotta put it on there, then I gotta pin it there. You know, I just didn't realize how much people that don't use tech a lot, it's just too much. And they say, it makes my head hurt. My head is hurting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask another question, Don.
And before you, Margaret, before you go on, I did put from Microsoft their how to maximize battery life.
Okay.
And it does say that I didn't know if it had this, but your version may have like some tweaks that you can do to it in the battery area. So you might take a look at that support page.
Okay. The other thing, Don, I was wondering, is 2 things I wanted to do. I wanted to make like a green. I have a big screen. Now I'm telling you, I'm really, really techie. I use tech with my students in social work all the time.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to make like I want to begin to do like videos, just instructional, because you know, you can do it all through when you record your screen for my colleagues. This is social work. And I wanted to do a green screen. I see Don has that beautiful background and that's from Zoom. But I mean, I wanted to ask a couple of questions. Making the green screen, if I wanted to, and then in Zoom, I just was never able to get those backgrounds to come up.
So I can answer the part about getting them in Zoom, because I just went through this myself. You actually have to be logged in to Zoom on the desktop application to get the virtual backgrounds to show. So that was the mistake I was making. I was on a Chromebook.
Yes.
And yeah, and so you have to be on the desktop version to utilize the virtual background, because you have to log into the actual Zoom application and not the Zoom account.
So it's something that we've already downloaded on our computer, correct? Mm-hmm. And then I have so when I click to you guys, I guess I would have had to log in first that way.
Well, you could do it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you go down to the bottom where it has your little video camera and it says stop video, there's a little caret arrow pointing up. If you click on that, you can choose virtual background.
I do see it, but it's no backgrounds to choose from.
And what are you on right now? Are you on your Surface?
Yes. And it does.
I wonder.
It comes up, but I kind of put some backgrounds there, I thought, and then I'll show you guys, but then when I put it on there, it doesn't work, so.
Could be, I saw, because I finally have a plain background here, so I might pull up a picture here in a minute and see if I can do it. But I don't have any pictures loaded like that. It says none, and it doesn't show any photos at all as an option.
Right.
But I was told that you had to have a plain background behind you, where before I had a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to see if it'll work for me now, though. I'm going to find a picture.
Okay. Oh, look
Yeah.
at Don's. That's beautiful.
No, I have to. We talked about this before you got in here. I don't have a green screen, but we're working on my basement, so it just looks horrible if I don't have some kind of background. I mean, so, do you use Zoom then versus?
So I'm with Chicago, and you guys were talking about the initiatives and all of the things that's been coming out. IDEA has been really pushing it out to them, and they've been, many times some of the smaller districts get the information later, and like they've really pushed it on us because we got so many schools. But in terms of wait a minute, I forgot what I was saying again, Don. You asked me a question.
Well, I did. So we use Google Meet. We're not allowed to use.
That's
and
correct.
so Google Meet, there really is right now no ability of using a green screen.
Right. We cannot use Zoom.
Right.
But when I maybe want to have meetings with other people, I mean, Google is really stepping up its game because they're adding a lot more features with Google now to try to stop some of the things that was happening with Zoom. So we can't use Zoom, but I would like to use it, with other colleagues during other times.
Well, and the only thing I would add, as Vanessa is looking at adding her screen, so in my office at my work, I have the whole wall painted green. And so I always have a green screen behind me. And the nice thing is if you record yourself, and it doesn't just have to be green.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be, you can remove any color that you want to. Oh, there we go. So if you recorded yourself with a green background, and then you go into programs like, I'm a Mac person, so I say iMovie, but you go into certain programs and then it allows you to pull that green out easily. So on Zoom, if you had a green background, one of the selections is I have a green screen. And then it actually, I don't know what it does with the color. Like now you can kind of see mine. I kind of go in and out. If I touch my head, it's got kind of a weird, that's because I don't have a green screen behind me. So it's having a hard time pulling out the green. But if you have a green screen and you just always recorded yourself, even if you're not going to use it, it's so easy when you get into a program to just say, oh yeah, I have a green screen, and it just masks that green and replaces it with whatever.
Okay. And how did you get that again, Vanessa?
You go down to the bottom corner. I don't know if I'm pointing in the
Vanessa,
right way for you.
Vanessa, do you have the option to share your screen?
I'm doing it, but
Okay.
I'll show you how it's gonna look.
Yeah. Hey, that's better than mine looked before.
Yeah, and that is because, so what's happening processing wise, it literally doesn't know what to do with all those colors. If I'm not suggesting you do it, but if you took down that picture behind you, it would clear it up pretty quickly, because then it would say, oh, there's this same color that it's getting out. But if you just drape a green piece of cloth wherever it is you record or you do your Zoom meetings, if it's right there, I mean, literally just pinning it up. I brought my green screen that I use for classes to be able to just hang it up behind me. I just haven't done it yet.
Does it have to be, I know you said any color, but does it have to be kind of a light color?
Okay, so this is my green screen, but it's not working. Now I'm a weird color.
Yeah, I mean, I'll show you. I'm going to.
That would be so funny if we saw Dawn like diving into the water.
So, well, okay, that's dumb. I can't show you. I'm going to put it. So this is a green screen. This is whatever it looks really funny. So if I put this behind me, now I'm not going to have that same, so if you just drape something like this, but what you can do in most programs, like if you're going to record yourself.
I'm going to actually buy probably maybe screen bids. I did like Screencast-O-Matic better than Screencast-O-Fi.
Okay, so Screencast-O-Matic, I think, has the ability
Yes.
of pulling the green screen in. Screencastify, I don't think does right now. I don't
No.
remember. But that's the thing. It's green is, I mean, if you have green colored skin, you probably have some issues. So that's why they use green. But you can literally wash out any color. You can go in, and those people, if there's anybody in here who's a video person, is going to say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that's not the term. But you can take any color and you just kind of adjust it. And when you find the right color, boom, it takes it out. And the lighting is really important. The more light on a green screen, the better off you're going to be. It will be crystal clear. Like if you see those, they're called shadow lights. It has a huge fluorescent bulb, and it's like a soft light. If you shine those, you don't get any of that kind of webbing type of thing. So green screen is fun to mess around with. I mean, I do it with a few classes, and like Vanessa, yours looks good now. At first, it was
right.
Yeah. Well, that's because I got my green back there now. I would show
that's right.
you, but it's but it's green.
You know, it's so funny because I'm looking like I can look over there.
Well, and the funny one is like green screen is it really is fun. I don't know if you saw the Queen give her speech. The Queen gave her speech to the UK, and she made a huge mistake by wearing a green dress. And people just put all kinds of things. They put marijuana leaves on her. Because anything that's green, you can pull that in, and you can. So my recommendation is, if you are doing a video, don't wear green, because people can.
That's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
That is good to know.
I'm so afraid because, you know, these people that do these videos, they look so professional. And then, you know, like you just said, videographers first might say, oh, he didn't say the right term, but you don't know. I mean, I wish it was, and this might be good for you guys, about these different little icons. I know you can look it up, but it's always a new icon with a different name. Like the wheel, is it a toggle? Is it a wheel? You know, when we're explaining it to our students, or I have to explain it, what do you call that? You know, it's and you have to have the picture. It's not like you can just look it up. You need to find a picture to look it up, to ask, what are they calling this? And in the Microsoft environment, they say one thing. In the Google environment, they say, and in the Windows, not Windows, but in Mac, they say another thing for the same.
Yeah, and when I go in and talk to, I've had this discussion with teachers, because like a teacher will say, okay, on an iPad, just poke that thing. And I'm like, no.
Right,
no,
because we don't.
On an iPad, it's tap. On, you know, the square with a little arrow is called the Sharo on an Apple. And so I try to get kids in a regular thing, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's like when you're not the expert at something and you're calling it, and there are people that are like, oh no, that's not. I mean,
people know, but what should we call the wheel? The where you get the settings? Is it a toggle? Is it a wheel? What do you call it?
Yeah, I call it a gear, and then I call it a toggle. Okay. Like the toggle is the on-off thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, where it slides back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a neat thing if we learned like little. I mean, you guys probably know, but I mean, really, for different devices, it might be different things, and you just, if you want to talk about it or even present to a student, that's another thing, the fear of calling something wrong, and some techie, a real techie, gets on there and says, "What? Why are you instructing like that? That's not what this is called."
Yeah.
A common vocabulary document that we need. Yes. That would be very helpful.
Well, and Google is funny too, because, you know, you call it the waffle, or you call it the hamburger, or
the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Yep. For anybody that's interested, I did drop in from Board Panda some of the pictures that the Queen was put in. It's pretty funny.
And where is that, Don?
In the chat section.
Oh, down here.
Yeah.
Oh, you did that. Okay.
Now, I have to say, Amber, I probably should mention, I did not literally read everything there. So if you look at that, you're like, yeah, that's not.
The other thing I wanted to ask, I'm sorry I'm asking too much to everybody, but I'm just like always geeked up on tech. But the other thing I want to ask, when you guys put the stuff in chat, because I was in another one the other day and I was like, man, I didn't get that man's name, his Twitter handle. How do we go back and get the, or do we have to just write it down right now?
Great question. So when we do webinars, so Whitney, we're recording this right now. Everything that goes into the chat window will archive in our IDEA account. And so we'll send out the follow-up email to everyone with the recording and everything that was in the chat window. However, to your point, as an end user, it doesn't save and you can't go back. So one thing that I have done in those situations, if I wasn't sure that they were going to send me the chat, is you can copy and paste. So if you go into the chat window right now, and hold down and copy everything.
Okay.
Then you can paste it into a document and have those links and those resources.
Oh, great. Because I missed a good one, a good guy that I wanted to follow on Twitter, and it was over. And then I was like, man, I didn't have it.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly. It happened to me before as well. So that was what I learned to do is capture it when I could, just by copying and pasting.
I mean, I don't know. I wasn't here in the beginning. I don't know what you guys do as like the opening thing, but like, hey guys, if you see something, you better copy paste. Or I mean, maybe it might be some opening since you guys we're all doing this together. That might be good.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
No,
that's a fabulous suggestion.
Transcripts. I love that they're posted on the website later because I've clicked, open them and I'm like, I know that those notes are there. So I don't have to do it as I'm watching. I can go back through and pull that stuff out later. That's really nice.
And how long our meetings are? Just an hour.
We try to keep them. Yep. We try to keep them just to an hour. These meetings, Apple, Google, Microsoft meetings, to an hour. And then our webinars are approximately an hour as well. We find that that's about the sweet spot of people's attention. And we actually did put out a survey a couple of weeks ago, and the vast majority of people, because we said, would you be interested in a longer webinar, 3 hours or something? And people were, no, not right now.
Yeah, you lose your attention after a while.
Yep. Exactly.
I want to ask another thing about, I have a lot of questions, but about when you sign up and you do the emails, and this is maybe a question and maybe a request. Just this year, CPS, when we had the strike, you guys know when they have the strike, they disable our ability to use email. Did you guys know that?
Did not know that.
A lot of them had been bouncing back, and so I've went through and enabled almost all of it. Well, I have enabled all the CPS emails, but I know that there's some people that just aren't getting them still. And
I mean, now they should be getting them. I mean, we're not on strike, but I'm glad that you guys had another backup email. But I was just wondering, which one am I really registered on? Because I really, for most companies, they don't realize, even when you do your CPS EDU, if that's your email, when they disable it, that means we don't get anything. And then, and if we leave, or we change to another district, that's also the email that we signed up in. I guess we can change it, but you don't. So I was just wondering about the ability to cross-reference the emails, or if we sign up 2 times with our personal email, because I know it has a place for personal email. Can I get some kind of comments on that?
Yeah, I can help you with that offline. And what is your email address, and I will reach out to you.
I have the CPS email. But I also have the personal email. I get stuff from you guys from there. And I don't know which one. I would like to leave it at both. But
Yeah,
Okay.
so Whitney can look it up and see, but to your point, Margaret, we're actually getting ready to roll out some information to all of our current members to update their profiles,
okay.
to ensure that their emails are accurate and up to date. And Whitney can talk with you more just individually on it, but to your point, yes, there is that option to choose one or more emails and determine where you want our information sent to, which one.
Okay. I'm glad that I get it at both, because when you guys, when we were on strike, and even before, this happened to me a couple of years ago, I couldn't get anything, and I was like, oh man, it's because I'm signed up with CPS. So
Margaret,
Yeah,
what is your last name, if you don't mind?
more.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll reach out to you.
Okay.
Well, we are at 11:04, so we did get started a little bit late, but we are right at our hour. And Whitney did put in the link to the professional development hour for the session today. So if you do go to the chat window, and I'm going to start explaining this as well, because I understand some people didn't realize where to find the chat window. So if you do hover over the bottom of the Zoom screen, those options should come up, and there's one that's got the little speech bubble that says chat. If you click on that chat window, everything that we've been putting in there will show up. Now would be the time, if you want any of it, to copy and paste, although we will also send this curated chat to you also. But the link to the PDHs is the last link that should be in there as well. So we encourage you all to fill that out to receive your 1 hour professional development. And as we close, I just invite you to continue to connect, follow us online. And Margaret, thank you for popping in. And Marlene asked a question earlier as well. That is what this is designed for. We never start the session off with having anything targeted discussion-wise for these particular sessions. So we want to meet your needs. So we never know what we're going to talk about. It all just depends on what the questions are from those that attend. So thank you both for sharing and asking your questions. And thank you, Vanessa and Dawn, for your time. I learned about which is perfect timing, because I have a meeting this afternoon where they want me to have a specific virtual background, and I hadn't been able to figure out how I was going to do it. So thank you both. Very good timing on helping me today as well.
You could wrap up in a cloth and you could just like hide.
And then you could appear, like, just, yeah, appear or disappear at will.
Doesn't look like Amber's here. Oh, yes, I am.
Here I am. Kaboo. All right. Well, stay tuned. We have some really fun and exciting events that we have planned for a couple of weeks as well. So we look forward to highlighting those. And again, thank you all for attending, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.